right. And then just click the screen again. No, just click out of anywhere. Yep, thank you. What's going on, guys? It is Madman Plant. We are here at StrangeFest, sailing away through interviews. You know, I love coming to different events that are not just cannabis related because it gets me on a different community. Next week, we're going to be at the Hampton Tattoo Convention in Salem, Virginia, which is going to be really awesome. It's a 3-day event. We're talking about suicide, tattooing, and obviously cannabis. And today I got Russ with me, former federal agent, cancer survivor, somebody who used to be on the fence, I guess, maybe, or on the other side of cannabis and really opened up through that. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
You are so welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Hold on for a second. Talk.
Thanks for having me.
You are more than welcome.
Sure.
And I'm glad that you came up to the podcast booth. One thing that we do here at Smoke Busters is it's all about breaking the stigma of cannabis. And I love talking to former law enforcement because, one, I am pro-cop, anti-bad cop, just like anybody would be.
Yeah, I'm anti-bad cop also.
Yep.
Yeah.
And my biggest thing is when we can get different sides of view, it can really open things up. So tell me a little bit about your previous life outside of cannabis and then how you got into cannabis.
Well, I was working as in federal law enforcement for 30 years and didn't smoke, didn't do any drugs at all, obviously. And I got cancer. And I had lymphoma in my body and brain cancer. And so I had to go to Memorial Sloan Kettering, which is the #1 cancer hospital in the world, for my treatment.
Yeah.
And so I was in the hospital for a better part of a year. And then after all my treatment was over, I was given all these drugs to take because I have neuropathy from all of the chemo that I got. And the doctor told me that I could either take all these drugs, and when I take these drugs, maybe in 15 years or so, I might need a liver transplant or something, or I could smoke weed.
Yeah.
So I chose to smoke weed, and I think it works. It works for what it's intended for. For me, like when I was in a hospital, I had a lot of drugs they were giving me, and they went straight to the pain. I never felt high when I was taking all these drugs for cancer. Almost the same way with marijuana. It takes care of the neuropathy, and I do get a euphoric effect from it. However, it's not detrimental, you know?
Yeah.
It doesn't stop me from doing anything. I have a couple of books out. I do a lot of things since cancer, and marijuana has not slowed me down at all. Some people think if you smoke marijuana, you're just a pothead. That's not at all true.
Yeah, coming from a wise man, you know, that's one thing I do agree with too, is it doesn't define you. If I had $1 for everybody that said, oh man, if you just stop smoking cannabis, your life would just really take off. You could be completely sober and still be completely lazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you know, laziness and substances really don't have anything, because when you think about it, an addict, and we talk to a lot of addicts on the show and everything, an addict is a very resourceful person.
Yeah.
He knows how to find money. He knows how to market himself. He knows how to make deals.
Yeah, I have
he
a
knows
couple of addicts in my family.
You know what I mean? So when you think about that, in the sense of that, you're dealing with a very specialized mind that is focused on one little thing.
Yeah.
And with cannabis, you know, it really opens that door, and it allows us to really, and what I essentially feel and really be able to process different things, especially when your life is literally flipped upside down. You know, you're going throughout your career, you know, you're doing great things. You said you were working with Interpol for a while and doing some really high-end stuff like that. And then your life flips on a dime. It's kind of like that Tim McGraw song, you know. You said I was in my early 30s with a lot of life before me, and a moment stopped me on a dime. He said, looking at the x-rays, I took the next couple of days to think about the option in Time Sweet Time.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I hadn't heard that song, but it's very interesting that he actually sang about that, because it's exactly what happens, you know. You get this news and it stops you in a dime, and you have to think about what's next.
Yep, and he said suddenly going fishing wasn't an imposition. and he became the friend he always wanted to be.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
In the song, he talks about he said he went skydiving, White River. I went
White River Raft.
White River rafting. I went 3.5 seconds on a bull named Fu Manchu.
No, that's
And he
something.
said, I loved deeper and I thought wiser, and I became the friend a friend would like to have.
Yeah, that's so true, because after I was in remission, I started traveling the world. I've been to Europe 3 years in a row, and
What
And-
is? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
and I just booked another trip. So it's I'm doing things that I didn't do whenever I was working.
Damn. What does that do? Because see, my whole podcast is actually not just about like great podcasts. What it is actually changing the way that I feel the day that I die again. And yeah, I know I don't really know the podcast that well, but the story that I tell and what the story that I'm living in my life is, when I was younger, I almost committed suicide. When I was in 2020, I was in a really bad car accident where I almost lost my entire life with my family. And in the sense, and you probably can feel this, when you think that you're gonna die, it's a very calm and cool, very somber kind of like feeling. And I believe, in my opinion, there was a very strong emotion attached to that, and mine was very much anger. Like, one, I wasn't living to my potential. I wasn't, the person I wanted to be, and then here I am. And this is it. This is all I get. You know what I mean? And there isn't any more for me.
Oh.
And then the thought of just like losing it all, in a sense where it's not even about finances or physical things anymore. It's about life.
Right.
And realizing that so many of us live in these docile environments where we just have acceptance, submission, and to push yourself, to take yourself like that, to go to Europe twice. I really feel, and in the song, it says, I wish I had the chance to live like I was dying, is the final chorus to that song. And it really is that. And I think when you live with purpose and you try to fulfill true meaning, I think that's truly where you start to expand, and you can affect other people with story and really get other people to involve and change their own lives. Because I think, like I said, a lot of us are we want more, but that's not taught. More is not taught. It's usually in a crisis situation or a situation where you're about to lose it all. Right. Now, during this situation, how were you dealing with the cancer? Like, were you going through a heavy depression right away? Like, what were the next stages after diagnosis for you?
Well, after I was diagnosed with cancer, well, of course, I told my wife, and she wanted to go to Memorial Sloan Kettering in New York City, and we did that, and my treatment was first class all the way, even though it was very painful. But, to get back to what you were talking about, when I was told that I had cancer, it, I had already, had a 30-year career and raised 2 children. And I've already done most of the things that I wanted to do, but I still wasn't ready to give up. I still didn't want to go. And but I did resign myself to going, and my wife was the one that made me go to Memorial Sloan Kettering.
You think that saved your life?
Yeah, she did, because I told her, well, it's been a good life, I'll see you later, because the doctor told me there's nothing they could do except for to give me some medication.
How do you, in your sense, accept that doctor's words? How come it wasn't like a fuck you, dude? How could you say that to me? I'm gonna live. Like, what are you fucking talking about? You're wrong. I'm gonna go see somebody else. Like,
well, it's from where I came from. I'm one of 10 kids. We were the poorest. We were the poorest family in the poorest neighborhood in the city where I grew up. And to get to where I am now is an accomplishment. So I felt accomplished.
Yeah, I can say so. Yeah, especially everything that you've done in your life, your travel, your work. I mean, that's not just for everybody. So
Yeah. And
Now-
since then, I've written a couple books. I'm going
Talk about
to
that.
write some more books. Well, the first book I wrote was just to teach myself how to write books.
Interesting. Okay.
And the second book was more to solve a problem. Because I think if you solve a problem for someone,
yes.
you'll make your endeavors will do better by solving a problem than simply to sell a product.
100%. And that's why with the Smoke Buddies podcast, one of the things that we specialize mostly is breaking the stigma of cannabis. Something that everybody needs to, awaken and be open to. And when you do it, like I said earlier, with purpose, it means more, it feels more, it is more. And that's because it's actually built on a foundation, not just put together to look good. And that's a real thing. And usually it takes almost dying, You're
right, almost dying. I mean, that's what it took for me because I
Yeah.
didn't smoke weed. Now, when I was a teenager growing up, I smoked a little, but nothing like I smoke now. But then when I joined the military, I stopped smoking at all. And then my government career, nothing at all. And to go from, thinking that, telling even my kids don't smoke weed. Smoke weed, the boogeyman, don't smoke weed.
It'll steal your soul.
Yeah. And to the doctor giving me kind of like license, permission to do it versus the bad effects that the medication was going to do.
Yes.
So smoking is a godsend, I think.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, they're like, hey, take these medicines. We know that it'll probably destroy your liver, and we can actually guarantee when you probably need a new one versus smoke this plant that you can grow in your house or whatever you want to do. And you said that you want to learn how to grow, and I'm determined to show you what it's like to grow indoors where you have full control and you're going to get way better output. And my 4x8 that we just did, we did 3.8 pounds in my 4x8. That's 4 foot by 8 feet of space. So the power of what you can do is endless. It's you just being good with the plant and you having a plan and knowing what it is that you're looking for. So
yeah, my space is about 8 feet by 3 feet. And there's my wife, Evelyn and Petey.
Very nice to meet you guys. Hey. Yeah, and wrap them in. We should get her on the podcast next. Talk about the outside version of it all.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, we'll wrap this up. Do you have social media or anything?
I do not.
Well, what's the name of your book so people can go find it and read it?
Well, it's what's under a pen name. It's called "Is It Me or Relationship OCD" by Elise Mills. Elise is my daughter's middle name, and Mills is my mother's last name, so that's how I came up with that name. But Is It Me or Relationship OCD by Elise Mills.
Perfect, guys. Well, we got more podcasts coming your way. StrangeFest is popping off. It's almost 6 o'clock, and I'm ready for some more interviews. We will see you guys real soon here on the podcast. Stay tuned. Everything's live, and you can watch this again right now, even if you just joined in. And we're getting our picture taken. We'll see you guys real soon.
All right.
Peace.